What's up, beautiful people? How y'all doing? Welcome to Dialogue with the Davises. My name is Cedric, and this is my beautiful wife, LaShana, and we have once again been blessed with the opportunity to sit before you and share in the conversation that we hope leads to positive dialogue, positive conversation and communication within your friend groups and your social circles, healing, advancement, positive, just all good stuff in the spaces that you operate in from a day-to-day basis. So, yeah, that's where we at, man. So what's going on, babe? How you doing? Why you?
I'm doing well.
Every time I ask you that, you look at me real strange, like.
Because it's like we live together.
I'm saying, no, I know how you doing, but
Oh, you're
when
asking
I'm asking you how you doing, that's for you to give, you know what I'm saying, the opportunity for you to share with everybody how you doing. Like,
okay, I'm doing quite well. Thank you for asking.
Oh, okay. Like, yeah, man, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
How are you doing?
Thank you so much for asking.
Absolutely.
I am doing quite well.
Okay.
Yes, I am doing quite well. My back been bothering me a little bit, but you know what I'm saying. Other than that, I'm doing good. It's crazy. We're talking about the back and the sponge bath on the last podcast, and then you know what I'm saying.
And then you
I
had a flare
up with my back.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I've been wrestling with that a little bit, but man, thank God it's all good. I'm not tripping, you know. But other than that, you know what I'm saying, life is lifing.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Always.
Everything is busy, you know. Back at work consistently because of the new fiscal year. You know what I'm saying, not all of the leave and stuff like that. So yeah, everything good.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Boy, you know you something else. For real, you is really a trip.
Glad to hear it.
Man, so look, today we coming and partaking in a conversation that myself and LaShana have had often enough throughout the years, and we continue to have it often enough present day. It's definitely a conversation where at some points in times it's led to some confusion between ourselves, but also when we matured a bit, I feel like it got to a point where we discovered some things and realized, you know, what the different nuances was that we were battling with. And it's not just something that we deal with, and it's not just something that's relationship based, but it's really something that, you know what I'm saying, we're seeing is taking a negative turn in society right now. And that thing is just the nature of the relationship that exists between men and women right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy when we look across all of these different media sources and all of this other stuff. It seems as if men and women are truly at war.
Like, absolutely.
Like, it's almost like we cannot sit down and engage in any type of positive conversation that leads to growth and maturity and development and understanding. So, I mean, in your opinion, where do you think that has come from?
I think it's come from homes being out of order.
Okay.
And I think that people pass things down to their children, or their friends. Friends share ideas. An aunt will pass it down to her niece, a grandmother will pass it down to her granddaughter, whoever. And same thing with men. But I think it stems from homes being out of order and there not being any, it's not balanced the way it's supposed to be.
I could see that in a sense. You know what I'm saying? I definitely feel like the dynamic concerning family and concerning gender roles and all of that other stuff is not clearly defined in homes. But to me, like, when I look at it now, it's almost like there's an agenda. You know what I'm saying? That is designed to pit men and women against one another. It's almost like it's a battle of the sexes. I know when you and I would have the conversation in the past, it was like we would always compare who had it worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you would take on the position of defending women, and I would take on the position of defending men. And you know what I'm saying? In all actuality, like, we both had to learn and grow, like what it truly was to be a woman for yourself and what it truly was to be a man for me. But you know what I'm saying, I never, well, I understand it now, but back then I didn't even really understand, like, because those conversations would become extremely heated. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would be saying something about men, and I would take it as if you were saying it, like you would be talking about men in general, and for whatever reason, I would take the posture or the position as if you was talking about me or something. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I really, kind of would get a little bit agitated concerning that. But then at the end of the day, it was like, as I grew and began to understand, it was like, agitated for what?
Well, I think, though, that comes from personal growth and development. And I think also that was a time in both of our lives where we were operating heavily in our egos.
Yeah, definitely.
Where if you're saying something about women, it's about me. Well, sometimes it's just not about me.
Yeah, for real.
Sometimes, if you're like, oh, this woman at the store, blah, 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 just for reference, you'll say this woman, did or said. And I'm like, well, I never.
Yeah, for real.
But it wasn't about me.
It wasn't about you. Yeah,
or
for real.
I would say something about a man and you would, feel away, but it was not about you.
Yeah,
I was talking about that man in that situation. So I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I think we're both now on some whatever.
Yeah, that we
Just
definitely
whatever.
Yeah, we definitely on that. But I mean, this is a conversation that I think is important to have, because again, and I know we've talked about it in multiple podcasts and in multiple settings. It's almost like, man, the nature of the relationship that is supposed to be one of nurturing in terms of its existence amongst men and women. That's not what the current state is. Like, you have situations in place where, you know what I'm saying, whether it's like feminism, or, you know what I'm saying, a feminist, or somebody who you know what I'm saying, is a chauvinist or whatever else, and like you have men and women who have these ideologies concerning the roles of the other. And it's like, man, listen, have you all sat down and had a conversation about what that looks like? Or have you all sat down and even tried to come to a healthy, compromise concerning the standards and the beliefs and everything else that have been given? Like,
First of all, they're not trying to compromise, so that's not going to ever be. I'm not trying to compromise. I just want you to
see things my way.
See things my way.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough for you to see them my way and even respect my feelings.
Yeah.
What I want for you to do is abandon your feelings, your thoughts, your beliefs, and take on mine.
Yeah.
It is not good enough that you respect it. It's not good enough that you say, you know what? I never thought about it that way. I see your point. I respect your point. And I would like to take a little bit of time away from this conversation to really evaluate that.
And reflect.
And then let's come back in a couple days so we can see where we are. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
No, what I want you to do is I want you to abandon how you feel.
In this very moment.
In this moment right now.
Yeah.
And I just want you to take on how I feel. Because in war, no one is saying, okay, we're both hurt. Let's stop. Let's figure it out. And let's come back together and do this peacefully. In war, somebody has to die.
But that's crazy. Look, because of the term you just used to even describe, you know what I'm saying? Like you
War.
said, in war.
It is, because it's a war.
And that's crazy. So like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, what? Because when we look at the Bible, man, and it's biblical, and you know my belief concerning, you know what I'm saying, everything. My standard always is a reference to Bible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What does the Word of God say about this? So when I look at it, you know what I'm saying, and you look at the beginning of creation, when God created man and woman, when it was just Adam in the garden, God looked and said, you know what I'm saying, it's not good for man to be alone, so I'll make him a helper. You know what I'm saying? Like a helper suitable for him. And it's like, in that, it's almost as if, you know what I'm saying, when people think about that word helper, or when you look at, you know what I'm saying, the term of submissiveness being used throughout society and in culture and everything else, it's almost like you have some men that have the ideology that, hey, you're underneath me, or hey, you know what I'm saying, you're not equal to me, or hey, you're not on the same level that I'm on, you know what I'm saying? And I think they oftentimes confuse headship, you know what I'm saying, with something completely different. Headship doesn't mean that your wife is not equal to you, or headship doesn't mean that the woman is not equal to you. Headship is just simply, hey, God has set a divine order for, you know what I'm saying, his kingdom to operate and to function, and that's what he expects us to live by. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much it, bottom line in the story. But now that doesn't mean that I have to, you know what I'm saying, oppress you in some way, shape, or form, or belittle you, or look down upon you as if you're not my equal. You know what I'm saying? So I think that kind of comes into play. And then I think also because of the current state of what's taking place in the world, and the different challenges and earning potentials and things of this nature, I feel like you have some women who want to be in a role of, you know, headship, and be in a role of being, you know what I'm saying, at the forefront. And it's like that's not good. That's not.
And I agree, but I think it's so many times, and not always. But if you look at, we'll use single parents.
Mm-hmm.
It is not always that the mother has the children, but it's a lot of the time.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know the statistics on it. I don't know if it's half and half. I don't know if it's 70-30. I don't know if it's 8. I don't know what it is. But the people I know, or people I've been around, or whatever, when it's a single parent household, it's the mother. The mother has the children. So in that situation, she is the head of her household, right? So if she files taxes, she's going to file head of the household. If there's something going on with the children at school, she's head of the household. And when now you're so used to doing things, you have your rhythm. You get up at the same time every morning, you pour a bowl of cereal, or you make lunches, or you get clothes ready, or you do whatever. And then you go to work and you do your thing every day. You get into a rhythm. And then when you get involved with someone, when you get married or whatever, and now the man by right comes in and becomes the head of the household, I think it's very difficult to now relinquish that when I've been doing it for so long. And now you want me to step down from it. And I don't even know if you can do a better job than I'm doing. But in that, you know, that is one of those things where that is, I think, a lot of the men versus women conversations we've had, because it is very difficult to let that go, even though you should. And then on top of that, if you married him and you didn't feel like you could trust him to be the head of the household, then you shouldn't have married him.
I mean,
does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But we're talking about you know what I'm saying. You're highlighting one dynamic of it. I'm talking about in the essence of, or in the existence where you have young, successful young ladies who they don't have any kids. They've not been placed into that situation of having to operate as single mothers. And when you hear certain conversations that take place concerning what it is that they require in a mate, or what it is that they're willing to accept, or what it is that they're willing to put up with or not put up with, it seems as if there's been this charge, so to speak, to kind of, you know what I'm saying?
I get where you're going.
Create this unrealistic expectation concerning, and I mean, granted, there's nothing wrong with, you know, you having success, or there's nothing wrong with, you know what I'm saying? That's just like if we were to ever be in a situation where you made more money than me financially, or, you know what I'm saying, that just is how things worked out. That doesn't negate the fact that, you know what I'm saying, my headship is still, or, you know, me being,
and you would still be the head of the household.
Yeah, so it wouldn't negate that. But there are instances and there are situations where we now see, because in some families, or in some cases, the lady in the family may earn more than a man. It's almost like the roles have been flipped. And you know, I just really feel like whenever anything is out of order, you limit the ability for God to be able to come in and bless
you.
Now,
right.
Again, God is sovereign. God is, you know what I'm saying, he can do whatever it is that he desires to do. But I do feel that God, you know what I'm saying, has put those standards and principles and everything in place for a particular reason.
But again, that's an ego thing, because we both know men who feel like, because I make the money, or because I make more money, or because, you know, whatever, I get to be the boss. And then that is one of those things where it becomes a man versus woman thing, because it's like, okay, but then when women do it, then men feel some kind of way.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, when you were doing it, it was cool. But when I make more money and I'm saying, well, now I'm the boss, then there's an issue. The problem with that is, it doesn't make a difference who makes the most money. Once you get married. Now, if you're boyfriend, girlfriend, you live on your own, you live over here, she lives over here, or even you live together and whatever, then it is whatever. But the moment you get married, your husband becomes the head of the household.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make a difference how much money you make. But I think that's the ego. You know, it's like I want to be able to, and for me, if tomorrow I start making $500,000 a year, I don't want to be the boss, or not the boss. That was poor wording.
Yeah, because we're equally,
that was really poor wording.
Yeah. Because because the thing about it is, in our marriage, we're equal. Like there's no, like, I don't look at you and like, oh, she's beneath me.
Right.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? Any of that, like we're equal. We're partners. You know
so
what
that
I'm saying?
I want to start that from the record. That was poor wording. We're gonna say the head of household. I don't want to do that. If I want to do that, I would have stayed single.
But even that's what I'm saying. But even in singleness, I feel as if a woman can posture herself, you know, according to the standards that are identified in God's word. Now, again, because she's single, she's having to pay her own bills, and
she's the head of her household.
She's running her household, definitely. But I still feel as if she can, you know, identify with the things that have been outlined in God's word in order for her to be prepared to be a wife. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I agree, but if she's the only person in her household, there's no way for her not to be the head of the household.
But I'm not talking about.
She has to be in that role.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about in essence of the day-to-day mundane tasks that you have to do as we live in this world. I'm talking about the way you posture your thinking. I'm talking about the way you view life. I'm talking about the way you view yourself, and the way all of these other things. That's what I'm talking about. And it's almost like, and then there's so many different reasons that we can point to why this is, you know what I'm saying, this situation is taking place. But it's like I'm saying, you can still posture yourself in a way that leads you to operate in a way that when you do get married, or when you do become involved in a relationship, you now have no problem relinquishing those different things that you want.
But I think though, because I recognize I definitely misunderstood where the conversation was going to a certain extent. But I think that in this way you are making the worlds clash. You're talking about people who are not living in the Word of God, and you're combining it with people who are living in the Word.
Okay.
So people who are just living their life, and there's nothing. They're not doing anything bad. They're not out here hurting people. They're just living just a regular life. You know, it is what it is. For them, there's no outline for that balance.
Yeah, I got you.
Where people who are living for God, it's almost like you're just following the rules.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I don't have to think about it. I'm just gonna follow the rules. The Bible is your rules. It's the manual.
Yes.
Right. So you want to know something about marriage? It's in the Bible. You want to know something about whatever? It's in the Bible, right? There's your manual. So you just follow the rules. Just follow the rules. But for people who, are not there are no rules to follow. You just kind of make it up as you go, and it's completely different. But you can't merge. You can't.
I agree. I definitely agree. For me, sometimes it's hard for me to step out
to separate the two.
You know what I'm saying? Well, not necessarily separate them, but I'm always with my mind focused on, you know what I'm saying, the kingdom agenda, or like that agenda. But to your point, yeah, you're absolutely right, because there are different platforms in the world, especially on YouTube and all of these other things, and we won't say any names, but there are definitely different platforms that have created this presence of
Division.
toxic masculinity. You know what I'm saying? And then there are these other platforms that have created, you know what I'm saying, extreme feminism. So it's like, and these two worlds are completely pitted against one another, and they've established a following, which has led to now men and women
Being more divided.
being more divided and being unable to sit down and have certain conversations. Man, so just in my own personal growth, and I know thinking back on it, it was like when we would be pitted against one another, not necessarily operating under the premise of one flesh and all of that other stuff. It was like, man, I was missing out on so many blessings, and I couldn't even really see the vision, you know, that I, you know, like I can now. It's almost like you had a part of the puzzle that I didn't have, but the only way that I was going to ever be able to get that part of the puzzle is for you and I to be able to sit down and, you know what I'm saying, have conversations that needed to be had. Some uncomfortable, some comfortable, but it's like, I feel like God, you know, intentionally designed it that way. Okay, I'm gonna give women a portion of this, and I'm gonna give men a portion of this, but the two need to collectively work together, because, you know what I'm saying, in His kingdom there is no division concerning that. So I know personally, it was like the moment that I became more intentional about the dynamics of our relationship, and me understanding you and the things that you had to deal with as a woman, and, you know, kind of removing my ego from it and stepping aside from the things that I once believed or thought. It was almost like God allowed me to start seeing things a whole lot more clear. And the reason I was able to see them a lot more clear is because when you and I would have conversations, I was no longer listening to respond, but I was listening to listen. And in the process, yes, I was learning something. So it was like, man, Shonda said all right, man, that's what's up, right? Yeah.
I be trying to tell you.
Man, I've been trying, girl.
I be trying to tell you.
Whatever. But listen, because like I said, you definitely don't lack no confidence. But it was like, as I was beginning to understand different things through our growth, you know, it was like, now the vision that God gave me that once was cloudy, or that was once kind of like where I couldn't see it clearly, now I have a roadmap. And it's like, because you had the remaining pieces that I needed in order for, you know, these things to kind of come together. And the vision is not just about me, and it's not just about you, and it's not just about our family, but it's about the whole dynamic of, you know, this community that we desire to have, where you have healthy men and women who have did the work that they need to do to heal from the things that they need to heal from, unlearn all of the trash that the world has tried to deposit within them, and now being able to come together collectively and sit down and have certain conversations that lead to growth and prosperity for both. You know, it's like that's necessary, because again, even to the point of not being married, say for a single man who is looking to become married, or a single woman who is looking to become married, if you have a healthy group of male or female friends, or vice versa, for whatever one it is, if you are able to sit down and have conversations that are of substance, and, you know, that have value, you can learn something from one another. So now when you go into a marriage, or you go into a relationship, you don't have these crazy ideologies, or these crazy expectations, or these crazy beliefs that, you know, don't necessarily coincide with what it is that you're getting yourself into.
But again, that boils down to ego. Boils down to ego. You know, if I think I really believe that when okay, so let's say you have let's go with the club, because we both, as younger people, went to the club. I think that men who go to clubs believe that women are getting dressed up, doing their hair, their makeup, their perfume, whatever, for them. We weren't. We were doing it for other women, in the way that I want her to think my hair is blah, blah, blah. I want my hair to be better than hers. Or I want her to like my outfit, but I want my outfit to be better than hers. It's all ego.
That's crazy.
And
man.
people, like, when women walk into a room, and it's the first thing you do is you're looking at the other women. What does my competition look like?
Wow.
I'm not worried about the guys, because one of them guys going regardless. Bottom line in the story, you're going to be able to say, you come here, and it is what it is. I need to see what they look like. What are the guys? So I said that to say when women have these ridiculous ideas, or women are sitting around, and it's on this, because I don't play with him, he know better, so and so, blah blah blah. They're doing it to impress each other. So now, and guys are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, guys. I mean, I don't know to what extent. I'm not a man, but guys are doing the same thing, beating on their chest. Oh, because I told her, and she know, but and it's like, but in both situations, you know, if your husband tell you be home by 8:00, you gonna be home by 8.
You gonna be inside by 8.
And you know, if your wife tells you make sure you pick up some bread, you can get all the way to the driveway and realize I've got the bread.
But that's
and put the car on drive and going back and get the bread. So
but that's for somebody who cares, though.
And that's also for people who are not living in ego.
Yeah, that as well.
And so my point was, all of this man versus woman is ego.
Do you feel like, cause see, you know me, so I attribute it poorly to ego, but then you know me, I feel like whenever there's an outward manifestation of a certain behavior, I feel as if I always try to examine the spiritual backdrop. For me, and like my brothers know, and everybody who knows me know, for me it's never not spiritual. You know what I'm saying? For me, I'm always looking at, okay, now, yeah, you said this and you did that, but let me be mindful and intentional and make sure I'm seeking after God to see what the spiritual backdrop is.
Do you think that the spirit is driving your ego?
I mean, yeah, definitely. That's definitely a part of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say I attribute part of it to the ego aspect of it. But then I also feel as if the division that is existing between men and women right now is definitely a tool of the enemy. And the reason I feel like it's a tool of the enemy is because he doesn't want, you know what I'm saying, men and women to fully understand their purpose and their roles as it relates to the way that God intended it. Because, you know what I'm saying? Because now when we look at it, the war that is currently existing, and I use the word war because you pointed that out, but the war that currently exists between men and women, you know what I'm saying, is leading to a serious disruption in communities. It's like when you look at the family dynamic, when you look at child rearing, when you look at all of these particular things that men and women are supposed to sit down and develop a collective idea on concerning what each of them bring to the table, that's no longer what's taking place. So now you see it in you know what I'm saying, schools, and you see it in marriages, and you see it in relationships, and you see it in all of these different walks of life, that because things are out of order concerning the way God intended them, there's a whole lot of confusion and disruption. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
by design.
Yeah, and I feel like that's by design. But now moving past that and getting to the thing that you and I talk about on a regular basis is like, but what is it going to take for men and women to sit down and there be a conversation that is facilitated that leads to discovery by both parties? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you feel like it would take? And again, we know ego, you know what I'm saying, needs to be removed. And we know pride and arrogance and all of those things need to be removed. And there needs to be a sense of humility. But what do you think right now is the biggest divide that exists between men and women, in your opinion, to prevent them from being able to sit down and have that conversation? What do you think the biggest divide is right now? What do you think the biggest gap is?
I think, I'm not going to say the biggest because I'm not sure, but I think the biggest is. But I think one of the things that really is driving the divide is, you said not ego, but I think it's ego.
I mean, ego
and the reason I say that is I think it's this weird kind of, I need to show him, or I need to show them, or you're trying to show somebody that you're the boss, and it looks crazy and it sounds crazy, and I think it's the unwillingness to let go of that.
I mean yeah, definitely.
And I don't know how to, and I don't know if it's because I think ego is the umbrella and everything else is up under it.
I mean, yeah. So I think ego is definitely, and that's why I said that's definitely at the forefront of it. And it's crazy. I was watching a podcast with Cam Newton on it this morning, and he had this expression for ego, and he said easing God out. You know what I'm saying? And when he said that, I was like, wow, and I don't know if that's something he came up with or
Yeah, but he
somebody else
just, or
came.
he said it,
But
whatever.
when he said it, I was like, wow, yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I see currently, besides ego, that is a serious divide between men and women is finances. I like finances and the positions that they hold in society. You know, you and I, we've had this conversation often. Like, I've seen different things on media platforms where when they're interviewing women who have experienced success concerning their careers and they're making a decent amount of money, when they're asking them, well, what type of man will you date? Like the pool that they're willing, the pool that they create for themselves is limited. You know what I'm saying? Just
It's
in my
not a
opinion,
pool, it's a sink.
It's a sink. You know what I'm saying? So like you because he has to have a 700 plus credit score. He has to have this. And listen, by no means am I encouraging any woman to settle for some stuff that, like, I'm not asking you to settle for no trash man, because I don't want that for my daughter. So please don't take what I'm saying and think that I'm saying, hey, you should just settle for anything, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But again, if a man doesn't make $200,000-$300,000 a year, it doesn't make him, you know what I'm saying, a man who's not of value.
So I think that comes from, okay, so let's go back to before. Let's go back before Instagram. Let's not go to before social media. Let's just go back to before Instagram. I think that thought process was, I think it was born around that time. I think when you have celebrities, you know, a lot of guys would say, oh, you know, she's a celebrity, but she won't date this regular person and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, my thing would be, I would like to believe that if I had an abundance of money and I was not married, that I would date who made me happy and who I could push to be the best version of himself. He could push me to be the best version of myself. We would seek after God together, the whole thing. But what I do know is it would be very difficult for Beyonce to date a school teacher.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely.
And I said school teacher for obvious reasons. It would be very difficult for Beyonce's husband to work at Eton High School. It for so many reasons. And I think that when people were seeing these women who are making all this money and be like, oh, it's like the sound bites we always talk about. You don't get the whole story. You didn't hear the whole thing. And I think a lot of times women will say, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, based off of something they heard from some celebrity, but you don't have the whole backstory. Like, you don't know why so-and-so said what they said, because you weren't sitting there. You got the snippets. You got what was put together. You know, we watch a few of our junk television where they come back and they're like, that is not what happened.
Yeah, definitely.
That was not the conversation. If you had heard the whole thing, it sounded completely different. Yeah. By the time they chopped and screwed it, it made me look like a villain. Yeah, definitely. When everybody else is like, she is not a villain. Like, she's the best person on the panel. But y'all mix it up. And I think when you hear it and you're like, oh, well, you know, I like the way she dresses. That's my, you know, girl crush or whatever it is that you have going on with these people. Then you start talking like she's talking, but your situation is different.
Yeah, I mean, you
does that make sense?
Yeah,
Because I know I was rambling. I'm trying to get to it, but it's like you want all these things, but you're not being clear in that.
I mean, I understand what you're. I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, as it relates to that, but again, it's because I feel.
But there are some people that just are with that crazy stuff.
Yeah, but I feel like it's because of these communities, and it's crazy how you know what I'm saying, both men and women flock to communities that don't necessarily add value, or you know what I'm saying, nurture the relationships that need to be nurtured. Again, like with the extreme toxic masculinity, you know what I'm saying, like I don't remember Buddy's name. I think he's deceased, but like with the high value man
Oh my
thing or
God, he
whatever
was
else, you know what I'm saying.
ridiculous.
I mean, or
He was
like,
so ridiculous.
but I mean, and not the, you know what
No,
I'm
no,
saying,
no,
it's,
I know,
yeah,
yeah.
it is what it is. But at the end of the day, again, these platforms and these communities are created, but then when you look at what exists inside of them, there's no joy, there's no happiness. It's like you have a whole bunch of men who have this crazy belief system as it relates to, you know what I'm saying, women are here, are put on this earth
Serve
to
and
serve and honor them and do all of these things. But dude, like, what are you doing as work? And I'm not even just talking, because even with men, I hear men as well, you know what I'm saying, with this mindset of, oh, I make this such and such amount of money. I could only interact with this. And like, man, listen, money, I get the need for it, but it shouldn't be something where we use it as a measuring stick to decide who it is that'll make us happy. Now, granted, given society and given culture and given everything else, there are some worlds that just can't be merged together. To your point, like how you said, you know what I'm saying, a big name celebrity can't date a
I
regular
mean, they
school teacher.
can,
But I'm
but I
saying it
think
will
it'll be a
create,
little, yeah,
yeah, it'll create confusion. It would be a distraction. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like, you couldn't have a big name celebrity and a husband or a wife, and they were teaching at high school, because the students wouldn't be focused on learning. They would be focused on asking you questions about
right,
your husband.
right.
So I get that dynamic. But the point that I'm talking about is, if you're this doctor, or you're this lawyer, or you're this CEO, or you're this whatever for this company, where, you know what I'm saying, you may be known in certain circles, but you're not known in other circles, I don't see nothing wrong with you dating a school teacher.
I agree.
Especially if someone that can, you know what I'm saying, carry on a conversation, if it's someone that, you know what I'm saying, matches your level of intelligence. It's just that their passion and their drive may be,
It
you
was
know what I'm
different.
saying, in an act of servitude, where yours is one where it's like, nah, I'm out here getting this money. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
But again, it's still, and I know we didn't do the conversation justice as we should have, you know what I'm saying, with regards to the whole thing of being against men and women. But it's like, man, we really need to kind of like take a step back as men and women and sit down and have a conversation, and, you know what I'm saying, really answer one another's questions concerning what it is that we have,
So,
considering expectations.
so Hill Harper did a book, The Conversation. Do you remember when I read
Yeah, I
that?
remember.
Excellent book. Excellent book. I probably read it again. And he did that. He brought different men and women together to have conversations. And he did it very successfully. Now, I don't know if these were people that were friends, because I read the book when it first came out, so I don't remember. I don't know if they were friends, so they automatically were going to come into it respectfully anyway, or if they were going to, I don't remember all of that. But I do remember there were a lot of topics and conversations that these people were able to have conversations, and it be respectful and it be healthy and educational. I think that the only way that happens is if people start doing it. But in doing that, you'd be careful.
Yeah, you can't.
You have to be like you, and then how much growth do you really have with that? Because like, say we're like, okay, we're gonna have a dinner party, and we're going to let everybody know from the beginning, this dinner party is for, we're gonna eat, but we're gonna talk about this topic. So everybody do your research, whatever, which probably will be great fun. But there are people that you wouldn't invite to certain conversations,
Yeah.
because you know when they get there, they're gonna be on some stuff where it's gonna be like, Psh, we couldn't even have the conversation because here you are.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so
There's an unwillingness to even learn.
right.
Yeah.
So unless you have a major space, where you can get a whole bunch of people together and everybody kind of get into little pockets of whatever, I really don't know how you could do that.
And see, for me, I don't think it needs to start off, you know what I'm saying, being facilitated in a major space, because I feel like it started with us, because like once we both got to a space of saying, you know what, it's much more important for me to, you know what I'm saying, be in a healthy space and really understand my spouse and really understand what it is that's going on with them. We both kind of like humbled ourselves and, you know what I'm saying, put egos aside and gotten to a position of doing the work that needed to be done in order for some of these ideologies that we held on to as me being a man and you being a woman,
Okay,
in order for them to be removed.
so this is the first time we've had to do this in our podcast, and it's so unfortunate that I have to do it, but it has to be done. When you just said it started with us, you meant for us in our household.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because in the world, it was sound like you were saying we started this movement.
No, I mean, yeah.
But I'm just saying, because I never wanted to come across. We're constantly having to say that's not what I mean. That's what I mean, and I just don't want that to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, and at this point, you know what I'm saying. I get it. Definitely, you want to be mindful of whatever content you put out in a way you come across. But I think at this point, you know what I'm saying. People, I mean, whatever. But like for real, I mean, at this point, I think anybody who has been along with us in this journey and anyone who knows us personally know that we're very humble. And like, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm not saying that at all. But the thing about it is, this is something that I am passionate about because I have sons and daughters. You know what I'm saying? I want my sons and daughters to, you know, find their community of people that they can sit down and, you know, have conversations with and actually learn and grow from those conversations. Like, I'm not fearful of what the future holds for my kids because, you know what I'm saying? My faith is in God, and, you know, I feel like that's what it is. But at the end of the day, I want them to have healthy communities that they're a part of where they can have conversations with people of the opposite sex and there not be this thing that exists between them where from the moment that the conversation begins, they're pitted against one another. And they're not actually trying to learn from one another. And they're not actually trying to grow from the conversation. They're only trying to prove a point and get their point across, and that's it.
So, okay, so you asked me where I think it starts. Where do you think it starts? Or what do you think it started?
Do you feel like the divide itself?
Yes.
I think it came with, you know what I'm saying, for one, men not necessarily fully understanding what headship was and them oppressing the voices of women for such a long period of time that women got tired of their voices being oppressed. So there was this movement that came up, you know what I'm saying, of women saying, hey, no longer are we in a space where we're going to allow you to control our voices, control our bodies, control any of that. And I think as that movement came about and it gained momentum, it got out of control.
It lost its footing.
And it got out of control. So now where the movement should have been like, hey, yes, see us equally, thing. And it should have been positive. Now what it did was it turned into something, you know what I'm saying, where it's me versus you or you versus them.
Yeah.
Rather than it being a situation. Because again, a lot of, and I'm not going to say a lot of men, but there are a few men, enough men that didn't understand the biblical principles of headship, that didn't understand the biblical principles of being a leader of their family, that didn't understand the biblical principles concerning them being the head of a household. For a lot of men, what that looked like was, I said don't do it and you better not do it. For a lot of men, what they thought that meant was control. You know what I'm saying? They didn't see it as a partnership. They didn't see, and that's kind of like what the problem was. So because they didn't see it as that, women, and rightfully so, became frustrated. You know what I'm saying? With their voices being marginalized, with their opinions being not respected, with them not, you know what I'm saying, being valued for anything other than, hey, cook, clean, have babies, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, as they started to express themselves and share their voices and everything else, it grew into, and it's like, man, look, this out of control now. Because now what then happened is now you flipped it, and you know what I'm saying? It's like you've met the men exactly where they were, and now you all are against each other. Nobody's understanding their role. Nobody's, you know what I'm saying, being responsible as it relates to what it is that they're modeling before their children, or that they're modeling before the people that see them every day. Nobody's even considering what this is going to do to, you know, the future.
Right.
Because men and women, and then not in all instances, because I feel like we have a solid community of friends and, you know what I'm saying, people around us that you know, kind of like see some things the way that we see them, and I feel like they're in a space of growth and wanting to understand, you know, the other one and value each other and things of that nature. But then we've also witnessed, you know what I'm saying, at certain points in times where like man, dude, a chauvinist, or like, man, old girl is really on some men ain't nothing and she don't need them, and you know what I'm saying, like, yeah,
And yet she's
you,
married.
yeah, and
And you're like, well,
exactly,
how does
you
that
know what I'm
work?
saying, because the thing about it is, yes,
You do
need a
need
man
him, and he needs
needs
you.
you. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
for y'all to be on some, oh, I don't need him and I don't need her, it's like, man, come on, yeah, you do, like you do. So I think, again, you know what I'm saying, and this was just a conversation that we, because as we always say, we don't in advance prepare a topic. We just kind of come in here and it be ready, set, go. But it's like this is a conversation, again, that I feel like is extremely important moving forward. And I know we'll probably talk about this again in another instance or in another context or whatever else. But it's extremely important that men and women be able to sit down and put aside their differences and have a conversation that helps to move forward the needle concerning what's taking place in our culture and in our society. Because right now I feel like that division, man, that's the reason we have so many different things that, you know what I'm saying, are taking place. Like you said in the beginning, it's out of order. Like,
Yeah.
it's so much that's out of order. So, you know what I'm saying, and you were particularly quiet concerning this conversation. You know, you usually when it's me and you talking and we off camera, you know, you usually have a lot
Well,
to say.
I think honestly, I'm gonna be just honest with you and honest with this conversation was. I think, you know, when we talked about, okay, this is gonna be our topic, you know, whatever, and then we don't discuss it ever. We just say, okay, this is gonna be the topic, and then we come in here and talk about it. But I think that where we started and where we landed are not the same.
Yeah, true.
And
True.
so
Okay.
it was like, you know, when we're having a conversation, usually we're like, this is the conversation, you know, off camera, and then we bounce off of that. But this one was so kind of topsy turvy that I just was like, okay, yeah, I'm,
You was just that what
yeah,
you was doing. You was
yeah. So I think
that's
we
what
should
it
do it
is?
again. This one goes out definitely.
Yeah.
They're getting a blooper.
What's the blooper?
Blooper. We're talking about something that anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
boy. All right.
yeah. We will. I think we should do it again. Where we talk about men versus women, but it be that.
Damn, what we was doing?
I don't know.
We ain't just talk about men versus women.
It feels like we didn't.
What we talked about?
It feels like we talked about headship, but I
Does
guess
it?
that is men versus women,
Yeah, so what is this men and women?
men and women.
Yeah, that's what
But
we
I want
did.
to do a men versus women. I think that would be because I think there's a lot of conversation where men and women are. We'll do a men versus women, but do a topic of disagreement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah, we'll
Because
do
I
that.
better follow that one a little bit better. Because this one was,
What you was? No, you weren't lost.
and I was
Yeah, I know you weren't lost. You seem like you.
me.
Yeah, you seem like you was just over there just holding your tongue a little bit.
No,
Oh, okay.
absolutely not.
Okay. All right, well, I'm just
Hold
making
my
sure.
tongue.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's it. But man, listen, the intent was, again, to highlight that right now in our society and in our culture, there's definitely this ongoing division and divide that exists between men and women. The purpose of the conversation, or the intent of the conversation, was trying to highlight that, for the sense of trying to facilitate more positive conversation and more positive dialogue between men and women, in root or in an effort to grow and move past the state that we're currently in. Because again, we have sons and daughters. I have nieces and nephews. I have brothers and sisters. I have people whom I love a great deal. And it is my desire that as we move forward, you know, in this world, that we be able to sit down and have positive conversations with one another that don't marginalize the opinions or the ideas of, you know, the opposite sex. Listen, God created us to live in
Work
harmony
together.
and in community and in fellowship. Like we have to have that. Now, granted, women, you know, they need to have their different forms for them to be able to come together, and men, they need to have their different forms for us to be able to come together. But at the end of the day, the collective, you know, it needs to be something different, man. So again, maybe we didn't do this topic justice. Maybe it wasn't man versus woman. Maybe it was headship. Maybe it was man, woman. Maybe it was whatever. But we just wanted to spotlight and highlight that there is an ongoing problem, and that it's one that we need, yes, and it's one that we need to address, and it's one that we need to talk about, and it's one that we need to fix. So we've gotten to that point in the conversation where we want to be respectful of everyone's time. We thank you for sitting down with us on today, and listening to our ramble. I guess it's a ramble. What you call it, a blooper?
Well, no, I mean a blooper.
So it was a blooper podcast?
It was.
Nah.
That's the name of it.
Nah.
The blooper podcast.
We not going to do that. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully something that we said leads to some type of idea formulated in your mind, saying, hey, you know what? Let me sit down with someone of the opposite sex, or my spouse, my partner, who I'm in a relationship with, my children, whomever, and say, hey, let's have a positive conversation and get some understanding. Because again, the whole goal and intent of us starting this podcast, and the whole goal and intent behind us even getting to this space, is so that we can see healthy families thriving. Doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. Doesn't mean you have to always see eye to eye. But even when you have, disagreements, I feel like you should be able to do that in a healthy manner and in a respectful way. So again, our whole intent is to try and push a positive narrative, or a healthy narrative, or a narrative that just leads to healing and development and growth. So, with that being said, I'm gonna be quiet now, because I did a whole lot of talking today. You got something you want to say?
You did all the talking. That's
all right. Well, I'm gonna finish talking.
That was just so rude.
Yeah, whatever, child. You just know what I'm saying? Whatever, child. So I'm gonna continue talking. And man, listen. We pray that you all are enjoying the content. We pray that you're growing as much as we are throughout this journey. We pray that positive conversations are taking place between you, your spouse, your friend groups, and in your social groups. And we just pray, man, that, this is something that's been a positive thing in you know what I'm saying, your settings or whatever. So that being said, don't forget to continue to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you're aware of the fact when we drop new videos. And man, just continue having those positive conversations in your homes and in your communities. And again, don't be fearful to interact with the comment section. If it's something that we said
that's what I wanted to say,
that is out of you know what I'm saying, out of alignment with what you think, or if it's something that we're talking about, or if it's something that you would like to hear us discuss or hear us kind of talk about, that's within reason and that's not something crazy, man, interact with us in the comments, and we definitely will make sure we get back to you.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, I'm going to get better about responding. So many people sent us messages saying happy anniversary, and, how proud of us they are and how thankful they are and everything. I was so in the moment that I just was in the moment. So I will do better with responding, because got on me this morning about not responding.
Say, look, so now here it is. That's your job. You had one job. That's your job. She's supposed to respond. So see, she ain't responding. I ain't gonna get on camera. I'm gonna wait till the camera get turned off. But y'all know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Anybody who knows me knows.
You gonna get that work. That's what they know.
Boy, stop.
Whatever. Say, man, listen, we appreciate y'all sitting down with us for this long period of time on today. Again, we pray that the conversation leads to something positive amongst yourself and your social groups and your relationships and everything else. So with that being said, you all enjoy the remainder of the day. And man, just have a blessed one. Do something good and something positive. I told my kids this morning, spend some time with God and see about discovering something new about yourself that you didn't already know. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? For real, it really is. I be learning stuff about myself all the time.
Using the voice?
Yeah, I be learning stuff about myself. So that's what it is. Man, but for real, hey, y'all have a blessed remainder of the day. Thank you again for joining us. Peace.